you're present. Like, you're there. You're where your feet are. You're not thinking about bills or thinking about drama or stress. You're fishing.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Now that fall is here and things are starting to slow down a bit for me during this crazy year of 2021, I'm making some improvements to the show. You'll be noticing some subtle sound quality improvements and a few other things. As promised last week, this week I'm introducing you to yet another awesome female charter captain. This week you're going to meet Gabrielle Barnes, a charter captain out of Destin, Florida. Her company is called Lady Luck Adventures, and just wait until you hear her amazing story. I mentioned improvements. Another thing I want to take some time to focus on improving is the quality of the Woman Angler and Adventurer Facebook group. While I want to be inclusive to everyone and help those of you who are doing great things in fishing get exposure for what you're doing out there, promoting your charters, your YouTube videos, I've noticed recently an influx in people pushing the same post out to a whole bunch of different fishing groups all at once. It seems like the Facebook algorithm doesn't really like that very much, and overall it hurts these groups by driving down engagement. The Woman Angler and Adventurer hasn't been any different in that regard. So this topic was recently discussed at the Outdoor Media Summit I attended in Colorado. And some of the experts had some great ideas to help, which I'm looking at implementing. From time to time, we do have posts from you or myself that get a ton of fun engagement, and that's what we want more often than not. Recently, one of those posts was where I posed this question to the group. Finish the sentence. It's not always about the fish, it's about ... Well, if you caught the teaser at the beginning of this episode, you heard Captain Gabby's answer. For her, it's about being completely present in the moment. I wanted to share some of the other answers people shared. Having a great time, smiles, stories, memories made, the adventure, the company, healing, laughter, having fun, being out in nature, life, the experience, the journey, anticipation, reflection, the hunt, peace and quiet, friendship, competition, meditation. And of course, there were some people that joked that they didn't get it. It's all about the fish. I'd like to know what it is for you. If you haven't already done so, hop on the Facebook group. I'll pin that post to the top so you can find it easily and share what fishing means to you besides just the fish. If you're not already a member of the group, simply send a request to join and I'll get you added quickly. If you have any suggestions on how to improve the quality of the group or to this podcast for that matter, please reach out to me either via Facebook or by sending an email to Angie@thewomanangler.com. I appreciate any and all suggestions, especially if this is an area of expertise for you. I'm currently doing all of this myself, so I can use any help I can get. All right, thanks again, everyone who participated in that fun discussion, and I look forward to seeing new answers popping up. Now, let's welcome to the show, Captain Gabrielle Barnes. All right, everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I'm on location, which I love doing on-location interviews, down in Florida. We're at Fort Walton Beach, Okaloosa Island, and I got introduced to a very cool, I'm excited to get to know more about her, but a female captain down here, Gabby Barnes. What's the name of your charter company?
Lady Luck Adventures.
Lady Luck Adventures, and we're sitting right on the water, basically. You just came in off the water on your boat, so yep. Got some bait for tomorrow's charter.
That's right.
So,
yep.
Very cool. Well, tell listeners just a little bit about, it sounds like I read about you on your website, like you grew up fishing. Talk a little bit about, and here too, like that's kind of rare. A lot of people I interview, in this area, they're not from here. You're actually from here.
Yep. Gabrielle Barnes, Gabby Barnes, obviously owner operator of Lady Luck Adventures. It's an inshore, nearshore charter in Destin, Florida, and I grew up fishing with my dad. That was the thing we did on the weekends. We mainly bottom fished in the Gulf out here, and growing up just fishing. Of course, I got into high school, didn't really care for fishing too much, and then got a little older and decided, hey, I got a John boat. That's what I like to do. I should probably try to do that for a living.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of traveled around, bounced around, ended up getting my captain's license in the Bahamas, working in Andros down there on a Navy base, and then eventually, after more traveling, moved back home and started the charter. So this is my 4th season, almost wrapped up, and don't feel like I'm going to stop anytime soon.
Very cool. That's a common theme I hear a lot too, is people grow up fishing and then you get a little older, you kind of get away from it, and then you start to miss it.
Yep.
What is it that draws you to it, that you love so much?
Honestly, there's a long list of things that I love about fishing. The catches are great, this and that, but I think the main thing for me is that when you're fishing and you're present, like you're there, you're where your feet are, you're not thinking about bills or thinking about drama or stress, you're fishing, you're in it, and that's it. That's all that's on your brain, and that's all you're doing. And I think that's the biggest thing about fishing that I love.
Absolutely. I kind of had a similar story from you. Grew up fishing, kind of got away from it a little bit, and then got back into it, probably 7 years ago now. So not a super long time for me, but I golfed a little bit during that break from fishing, and that was one thing about golf. Like, when you're on the golf course, that's all you're thinking about is, like, that next shot, And so that's, I think it's important that everybody has something like that in their life, because if you're just, monkey brain all the time and doing whatever, it's just nice to have something to do that's your escape.
Yep, just pull back the reins on life and just focus on the task, because when you're fishing, especially if you don't get out all the time, you're really focused on, all right, let's do this, let's get the bait, okay, are we on the spot? You're like in it, you're in the zone.
And I tournament fish, and that's one thing I love about that is when I have a tournament week, because we have practice days and then the tournament, it's like that is all I'm focused on that entire week. It's like my only time to get a real break from everything else.
Okay, see, for me, it's opposite. Tournaments, okay. I don't tournament fish.
Okay.
But I'll fish tournament here and there, and it's, like, stressful, because I think it's because I'm super competitive, right. and I fish tournaments here, so I feel like I'm a guide. I need to be in the, I need to be placing, right?
So you put a lot of pressure on yourself.
Yeah,
probably.
So it makes it, like, the last one we did was fun, because I was like, you know what? I'm not going to, force anything. Let's just go have a good day and fish. But, yeah, I'm working on that tournament aspect of it.
Yeah. This was my first year doing it, and me being still pretty novice, I'm, learning. I do put a lot of pressure on myself. But when they're biting, it's like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So you've gotten to do a lot of cool travels throughout your fishing life. Talk about some of the awesome places you've gotten to.
Yeah, so basically I'll kind of give you a little rundown. I started when I was about 23. I kind of was at that point, like, what are you going to do with your life? And at that point I owned a John boat, lived in Orlando, and would drive it, tow it with my Mazda 6 down to Mosquito Lagoon, an hour and a half ride every day.
Which that's a cool. I've never fished Mosquito Lagoon, but I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, I haven't been in a while, and I hear it's gone down quite a bit.
Oh, really?
But it was amazing while I was there. But yeah, so that was when I decided, you know what, I want to fish for a living. So I got an opportunity to go to Alaska and work at a fishing resort out there. Planned on staying the whole summer, ended up only staying 6 weeks, but it was awesome. Wow. I didn't care for the job so much, but Alaska, Ketchikan, Alaska, beautiful. I got to do a ton of fishing. It was amazing.
What time of year?
Summer.
Okay.
Summer. Yeah, it was fishing time of year.
Yeah.
So from there, while I was there, I got offered the job in the Bahamas. So I was I'm warm-blooded. I like the warmth.
Me
so
too.
I flew down there, and I started working down there, and I got into fly fishing for bonefish down there. Then stayed there for a couple years. Then I went backpacking for 3 months, Southeast Asia. So we fished.
Wow.
I fished in Thailand for, big red-tailed catfish, Mekong catfish. Fished out there. Caught a bunch of fish out there. My husband caught a big old arapaima, crazy. And so fishing there, and then we went to Guam for 6 months. I worked on a dolphin tour boat out there, but we got to do some fishing. Caught my first blue marlin there. Was trying to catch a GT so bad, but I couldn't.
What's a GT?
A giant trevally. They have them there, but they're not like in the Seychelles where you see them everywhere. But and then after that, I moved back home and started the charter. But I have fished a bunch of places. It caught a bunch of fish, and still to this day, my favorite is the bonefish in Andros, Bahamas.
Okay,
that's the best.
I was going to ask you in your description on your website. It said you're chasing the perfect fish.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what's the perfect fish?
I would say right now, I haven't caught them all. Hopefully, I find one that takes the cake. But right now, it's the bonefish for sure. And I think, you talk to people who catch them and who fish a lot, they always say it's pound for pound the hardest fighting fish. They just take off. Into your backing in no time. But I think it's a combination of that and just where you are. Because out there, like in Andros in particular, there's no boats, there's no people. There's nothing. It's just crystal clear water. And just, it's just the ambiance, everything, and then you see just hundreds of bonefish.
And is that on the fly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's got to be even more exciting.
Yeah.
With that fight, and then you've got a fly rod.
Yeah. It can be exciting and frustrating at the same time, but yeah.
Right.
It is great.
So what is it that drew you back to this area?
This is home. For me and my husband, we had family here, and starting the charter, it just made sense to come back to home waters where I grew up fishing my whole life, and it has the best of both worlds. So my husband does basketball, I do fishing, so we didn't have that in Andros, so we had to come together and go somewhere we could have the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And the fishery here is great because there's inshore, there's near shore, and there's offshore. I don't do much offshore fishing, but we've got blue marlin, yellowfin tuna. Near shore we're catching red snapper, king mackerel, grouper, and then inshore we got redfish and trout, flounder. So we've got everything.
Yeah.
So
that's what I love about Florida. And saltwater, inshore fishing. It's just the variety of fish that you have the opportunity to catch. It's so much fun. And you never know, like for me anyway, you never know what you're going to get.
You don't. You really don't. And then I'll tell you, I've fished here my whole life, and I've been guiding for 4 years, and just when you think you've seen it all, 2 weeks ago, I'm fishing the Destin Bridge, good outgoing tide, big bull redfish, it's a month that we catch them really good. And that line just, it took off. I was like, oh, that's a big one, get him. My client gets on, and I'm like, dang, that thing took a good run. Get him up to the boat. It's a 10-pound red snapper. Now, over in Pensacola, they catch red snapper in the bay. Here, very, very, very rarely do you catch them in the bay. And that was a nice 25, 26-incher. So that's how it is. Most days you know what you're going to catch if you're from here, but some days you don't.
Yeah. What's it like in the winters here?
In the winters, well, it depends on where you're from. Because for me, it's cold.
Yeah.
It's cold for me, but there's still good fishing. In the winter, we transition into chasing spawning fish. So like December, January, really it starts in November, but we can't harvest them now. But the flounder starts spawning. So December, January, we'll pretty much just target flounder. Then it goes into like January to March, it's sheephead. And meanwhile, the redfish are in, trout are in, everything. But we mainly focus on the spawning fish in the winter.
Okay. Because I've heard it can get pretty cold here in the wintertime, just like Nashville. You get in the 20s sometimes.
Yeah.
For me, That's too cold. Which is why I go down to like south of Tampa. Like,
for me, under 60 is too cold for me.
Yeah.
And I just want 60 in the morning. Yeah, I'll layer up and and here's the thing is when the fishing's good, it's fine.
Right.
But if the fish aren't biting great, it's really cold.
Yeah, I hear that. That's like when some of these tournaments we fish and it's raining and cool and you're miserable, soaked to the bone, you're not catching anything. Yeah. It's like, that's pretty miserable. That sounds like the sheephead tournament we fish every year. Yeah, we do. There's a tournament in Nashville every February called the Frostbite Tournament.
Oh, gosh.
Some years we get lucky and the weather's warm and it's not so bad, but other years it's like just way too cold to be out there. To be fishing. So, do you have anything exciting coming up?
Yeah, I do. The one thing I have, and I've been kind of like, this has been a goal I set years ago that's finally coming to fruition, is this December 2nd through the 6th, I'm hosting a trip down in Andros. It'll be the first one. I went down the same week. It's a migration for the bonefish. They move east to west, and they just roll through in schools. But, so that's a hosted trip. I've got 10 people. Actually, just had a cancellation, so we just had 2 spots open if anybody's interested. But yeah, that's what I've got coming up that I'm pretty much transitioning into focusing on, and I'm super excited about it, and should be every year after this year.
Very cool. That would be fun. Is there somewhere people can go to get information on that?
Yeah, my website, ladyluckadventures.com, and you'll see there's a little hosted trips tab there. You can click and has all the information.
Awesome. Is that something you think you want to incorporate, like do different hosted trips?
Yeah, right now I like Andros just because I live there and know it, and I can't offer like world-class fly fishing casting lessons myself. The guides there can. But I can offer an experience there that you wouldn't get just from somebody who's never been there, right? But I do want to get into, eventually I want to host a trip a month in the winter months. That way.
Yeah.
I'm going down to the warmth. Yeah. I'm still fishing. Yeah, that's the goal. So
awesome.
In the future.
Very cool. Well, I'll put a link to that in the show notes, as well as your Instagram, anywhere else that
Facebook, Facebook, Instagram. That's all Lady Luck Adventure.
Perfect. All right, we'll share that so people can log in and follow you. If you come down to the Destin area, definitely look up Lady Luck Adventures and take a charter with Gabby. That'd be awesome.
That would be great.
All right. Thanks so much.